Hi all, this is Soft and Spicy. Thanks for clicking on my video. And today I'm going to be reviewing the Hulu series All's Fair, starring Kim Kardashian, Naomi Watts, Niecy Nash, Teyana Taylor, Sarah Paulson, and Glen Close. And this is created and executive produced by Ryan Murphy. So Ryan Murphy, you know him from all the American Horror Stories TV series on Hulu and FX. You know him from the American Crime Stories that he did about Gianni Versace and O.J. Simpson, and then he also did the the Dahmer movie on Netflix, right? So if you're familiar with his work, um, like this show kind of follows a similar tone. And Ryan Murphy, he's also known for Glee as well. So this show, it kind of follows a similar like tone or pace as his other line of work. And I think some of the reviews for this show, I mean, I saw the reviews for the show have been bad, right? It has like low stars. Like if you look it up on Rotten Tomatoes, it has like a 5% rotten score, and I think some of the reviews are like 3 stars, 2 stars, and things like that. But like, let's just get into it, and I'm just gonna give my opinion on it. So the show starts off with Kim Kardashian's character. Her name is Allura Grant, and I'm actually having a hard time remembering all the characters' names. So I'm just gonna say like Kim Kardashian's character, Naomi Watts' character, and so on and so on. So Kim Kardashian's character and Naomi Watts' character, they are, I guess, more junior lawyers at a big prestigious law firm, and they're basically just sick of it. They're tired of the sexism. They're tired of all the sexist jokes. All the other lawyers in the office are men other than them, and then except like Glen Close's character. So Glen Close, she's like the only female senior managing partner at the law firm, and then there's like, then there's a few other female junior lawyers. So Kim Kardashian's character and Amy Watts' character, they're fed up with the mostly male-driven law firm, and a lot of the nasty jokes and stuff that they have to experience every day at work. So they say, "F this, we're gonna start our own law firm." And so they go to Glenn Close's character, and she basically gives them the blessing of saying, like, yeah, I believe in you. I support you leaving the firm and starting your own law firm. And, she's very supportive of them. The only thing that she says is that, they can't take any clients. They have to build like their own clientele, but they can take, one of the employees, right? So then the employee that they decide to take is Niecy Nash's character. So Niecy Nash's character is introduced by you hear her voice before you see her. So she's like on the phone talking and standing in front of the screen and talking very loudly, and that's how we're introduced into her. So at first I was kind of like, oh, is she just gonna be like the sassy like assistant? Is that gonna be like the black sassy assistant? Is that the trope that she's gonna be? But it turns out she's actually the lead investigator. And Kim Kardashian's character, Naomi Watts' character, they ask Niecy Nash's character, like, do you want to join our law firm? And then Niecy Nash's character is a little hesitant because, she's in a good place at the law firm. She makes good money. And Kim Kardashian says, like, well, we're going to make you partner. So she's not just going to be an employee. She's going to be a partner of the firm along with Kim Kardashian's character and Naomi Watts' character. And then Kim Kardashian says, like, we're going to make you like a millionaire within 2 years, or multimillionaire within 2 years. And then based on that, then Niecy Nash says, yeah, I'll go along with you. So then there is another female lawyer that's played by Sarah Paulson. And Sarah Paulson, you know her from all the American Horror Story films. Like, she has a really good relationship with Ryan Murphy, and she's been in pretty much every single one of his productions. She's a great actress, and she's actually playing their arch nemesis throughout the series. So she's a coworker. She's obnoxious. Apparently, she eats their lunch that they save in the refrigerator. And she actually begs to leave with them, right? She really wants to be part of the trio now that are leaving to join their, to create their own female run law firm. And Sarah Paulson's character, her character's name is Carrington. She really wants to leave with them. And they basically say no because, we don't like you. We can't stand you, basically. And Carrington says, well, now I'm your enemy. So now she hates them and is basically insults them every time she sees them or interacts with them. And now, throughout this whole series, she has like this huge vendetta against the three ladies that started their own law firm. Okay, so now we're getting kind of close to the end of episode one, and Kim Kardashian, she is, driving home, and she's walking through her mansion, kind of getting settled for the evening, and I think that's one of the trailers that people saw, and then people were kind of making fun of it, saying that, oh, she's just, um, so she's basically playing herself, in the show. She's not really playing herself, to be honest. I think the only thing that is similar to Kim Kardashian in the show is the lifestyle. So I think the show is very visually appealing. Like all of the characters are dressed well. Like if you're a fashion girly, the fashions in the show, the colors, the different textures of clothes, the styling. This is a fashion show. Like this is like all the fashion girlies, you're gonna enjoy watching this show. Even just like the lighting of the series, it's like the lighting is in this very like tan beige type of lighting where like the show has like this tint, has like this kind of like tan beige tint to the show. Yeah, but kind of like the opulence, they're flying on private jets, they're driving expensive cars, they're in and out of mansions. So it's just very like a very like 1% aesthetic, right? So I think that's the only thing that's really similar to um Kim Kardashian herself. The show is actually based on Kim Kardashian's divorce lawyer, I believe the show is based on. So I think that's really the only connection to Kim Kardashian. But her character, she's playing a high powered divorce lawyer who's married to a football player. So that's towards the end of the first episode. So now we're seeing that she's coming home to her football player husband, and they make it a point to talk about his Super Bowl rings. And this is where I'm like, wait a minute, is this kind of alluding to like Tom Brady? And the reason why that's funny is because there's been like a lot of rumors on the internet that Kim had shot her shot with Tom Brady and that he curbed her and that he has no interest in Kim Kardashian. So that has kind of been like part of the rumor mill. And like I'm wondering, like, is that why they made her husband kind of like a Tom Brady type guy? And his aesthetic is, somewhat similar to Tom Brady. However, the actor, I think his name is Matthew Noshka. Um, and he's a model and actor. You might remember him from what's that show? Star on Fox from like 2016, 2019. He played a love interest on that show. That's the only thing I know him from. So he's more of like a model type guy, but he has kind of like the same aesthetic as Tom Brady, kind of like tall, lean, but muscular. Brown hair, brown eyes, and they even both have a dimple chin. So I'm wondering if Kim casted him on purpose because Kim is also an executive producer on the show. So keep that in mind. So I wonder if she casted this actor to kind of play on those Tom Brady rumors. Um, and to me, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think she's kind of used that as kind of like a gag. Either her or Ryan Murphy like use that as a gag. Like, yeah, everyone says you can't pull Tom Brady, but let's give you this Tom Brady kind of look-alike to be your husband. And that's one thing I like about this show. There's like a lot of gag moments. There's a lot of like shock value moments. And there's also like a lot of guest stars that you'll recognize and you'll be like, oh, I know that person from this. I remember this person from that. And I'm going to get into the guest stars like at the end of my commentary about the episodes. But I think it's just something that's typical to a Ryan Murphy production that there's going to be like a lot of gag and a lot of shock value. So I'm actually not even getting into detail about what happened In each episode, I'm more so giving like a high level overview and just sharing my overall opinion. But there's like a lot of small details and some small funny moments that happen in each episode that I'm not even covering, because I do encourage people to watch the show, especially women. I feel like this is a show that a lot of women will like. And I think the criticism the show is getting is a little bit harsh. And I think women, especially, should just watch the show for themselves, because I do find the show entertaining. So I don't want to spoil like all the funny and shock moments. So there's that. So let me get back into the end of episode 1. So mind you, the very beginning of episode 1 is like a preface. So it starts off in the beginning where they're just creating this new female law firm, and then that's like the first few minutes, and then it cuts to like 10 years later, after the law firm has been established. So in the beginning of the episode, it seems like Kim Kardashian's marriage with this football player is going well, but then by the end of the episode, he says that he's not happy in the relationship anymore. That he feels small being in the relationship, and he tells her that there's someone else that he wants to be with. And Kim Kardashian's character doesn't really give like a lot of reaction. There's obviously like she gives like shock and upset, and she acts like, why are you doing this to me? But it's not really like a big reaction that you would kind of expect in a TV show when they've been, I think, supposedly married for like 10 years at this point. And that's my biggest criticism of this show. It's Kim's lack of emotion when she's acting and when she's delivering lines. Like there's a lack of emotion there, and everything she says falls flat. So that's going to be my biggest criticism. That's the reason why people are judging the show so harshly. But it's not really the overall show that's bad from so far from what I've seen. It's just Kim's acting is very weak compared to everybody else on the show. But, at the end of this episode, the viewers, we find out that her football player husband, his name is Chase. So Chase has been cheating on Kim Kardashian's character with Teyana Taylor. And Teyana Taylor plays the character of Milan, and Milan is Kim Kardashian's assistant, because Milan, I believe, just graduated law school and hasn't passed the bar yet. So she's like supposed to be in the middle of studying for her bar exam. So that's what makes it even worse that Chase, Kim Kardashian's husband, has been cheating on Kim with this Milan character played by Teyana Taylor. And Milan works for Kim Kardashian's character, and Kim Kardashian's character has been helping her study for the bar exam. So now we're on into episode 2, where Niecy Nash's character is following Chase and investigating Chase to kind of find out like who he's been sleeping with, or who he's been cheating on Kardashian's character with. And Niecy Nash's character, her name is Emerald. Emerald. So Emerald finds out that it's not just Teyana Taylor, that it's a whole bunch of different people that Chase has been cheating with. So now the ladies at the law firm are mobilized to help Kim Kardashian with this divorce against her husband Chase. But like in episode 2, there's like multiple different storylines happening at once. And in this episode, we really get to know a little bit of the background and personal lives of both, Naomi Watts' character and Niecy Nash's character. So let me just sit with like Niecy Nash's character here for a little bit. That's named Emerald. She is the lead investigator. She's also the comic relief of the show. So anytime there's any type of like serious or tense moments, this character kind of lightens the mood with like lightness or a joke of some kind. And yeah, her character is very sassy, so it is kind of leaning into stereotypes a little bit. She's also a single mother by choice, though. She chose to go to a sperm donor and, give birth to triplet sons. So she is a boy mom. So it's interesting what they decided to do with her character, because the show tries to make it clear that she's not just like the sassy side chick, or not side chick, oh my god, side friend. um, um sidekick, I meant. She's not supposed to be just like the sassy sidekick, because they on the show they make it clear that, she is a partner, she is an equal partner in the firm. But just watching the show, like, you see that, the firm wasn't her idea. It was like Naomi Watts' character and Kim Kardashian's character idea to start the firm, and they came to her and brought the firm to her and said, "Would you like to join as a partner?" And then also her character is not her character Emerald is not a lawyer. She's a lead investigator. So, and she's the one who's cracking all the jokes and being sassy. So even though she the technically the show tried hard not to make her seem like a secondary sidekick character, but realistic, like when you watch like the show, that's what it kind of gives. But I don't know. Also, Niecy Nash is also an executive producer on the show, which means that she probably invested some money into the show. So if she's okay with that being her character, like, who am I to, you know, think negatively on that? She's also the only main character on the show that doesn't have any type of love interest. So that's another interesting choice. Even the most elderly character on the show, Glen Close, her character has a love interest and even has a secondary love interest if you watch the show. So that's my observation on that. So now let's get into Naomi Watts' character. Her season, episode 2, showed a lot about her love interest. Apparently she's been dating a doctor for 2 years, and then they go out to dinner, and he proposes to her in a very cute way, and she says, "Can you wait a minute? Let me think about it." And then she says, "I'll be right back." And then she goes to him at the restaurant, and then she's feeling, kind of jaded about marriage, considering that she's a divorce lawyer, and she's kind of projecting all of the bad experiences that she's seen her clients go through onto herself, and is concerned about, whether she believes in marriage or whether it'll work and things like that. She has a heart to heart with Glen Close's character and all that. So she's kind of going through an emotional roller coaster as to what to do about this proposal. The doctor boyfriend that she was dating, he's kind of upset with her because she ghosted him. Now he told her that he's hurt, he doesn't really want to talk to her and things like that. But as the episode progresses, she makes her decision. She finds this doctor boyfriend, um, meets up with him while he was playing basketball. They go for a walk on the beach. They find like uh, kind of like a quiet area on the beach to kind of talk about their relationship and their feelings. Um, and then she has the ring that he tried to give to her or gave to her, and then she gets down on one knee and proposes to him, and then he goes, "Oh, let me think about it." And then there's like this uncomfortable pause for a little bit, and then he says, "Yes, I thought about it. Yeah, I want to marry you." And then they hug and they kiss, and she jumps on him and they kiss, and it's a cute little moment. So that's episode 2. Who else? I think we get to see a little bit more of Glenn Close's character a little bit in this episode. Her character's name is Dina, and she's still the managing partner at the previous law firm that the trio left. But then she enters this episode, and it's announced that she is going to be the divorce attorney representing Kim K's character, which is named Allura, in the divorce against Chase. So, all the girls are happy to see her. She's kind of like this motherly mentor figure. And she provides like a lot of advice and emotional support for all three of the ladies. And then she goes with the ladies to a jewelry auction, and she gets into a little verbal sparring match with Sarah Paulson's character, which is named Carrington, and they shorten it to Carr. So if you hear the character named Carr, they're talking about Sarah Paulson's character, which is named Carrington. So Carr and Dina get into this sparring match, and Carr outbids Dina on this piece of jewelry that Dina really wanted. But Dina's not, too upset about it. Um, and then we see that Dina, she goes to the bar to get a drink by herself, and then the auctioneer approaches Dina and basically admits that he's had a crush on her for a very long time. And Dina says, "I'm married," and then the guy says, "I know," and then the guy just leaves her his room number, so it's up to her if she wants to, take it further or not. So then later on, we see that Dina does go to the auctioneer's hotel room, and they kiss, but then she starts feeling guilty. And then, she leaves, and, she tells the girls, "I'm going to tell my husband." And then the girls are saying, "No, why, why? You didn't really do anything. You course corrected." And then she still decides to tell her husband, and her husband is very, very sick. He's elderly like her, but he's like very, very ill. And so she tells her husband about the kiss, and she apologizes, and the husband is upset, but um not extremely upset. So they kind of have like a nuanced conversation about it, and she's just very, very apologetic and regretful, and then he forgives her. So I think this character Dina, she's very, very sweet. Obviously, she's a strong lady, being the managing partner in a male dominated firm, but she also has this very like empathetic side to her that's really nice to see. Also in episode 2, Niecy Nash's character, Emerald, tells Allura, which is Kim K's character, that Milan, which is Teyana Taylor's character, that Milan is one of the people that have been uh, sleeping with Chase. So Allura pulls up to Milan's house, and she pauses in the driveway, and there's this dream sequence. So now this dream sequence, this is what a lot of people might have seen on the TV show trailers, and it's basically Kim K dressed in a yellow, long flowing yellow dress with the black gloves and a baseball bat and jewelry and sunglasses, and she's bashing the car windows with the baseball bat, and it's very reminiscent of Beyonce's Lemonade music video. And a lot of people were like, kind of like weirded out, like, why are you using like Beyonce's art as part of your TV show? But it was only used as like a dream sequence, so it wasn't actually part of the plot. It was just supposed to be a representation of how uh the Allura character felt about finding out that her husband was sleeping with her assistant that she's been helping. So it was just like it was just a dream basically on the TV show. But it's funny that during that sequence they weren't even playing Beyonce's Lemonade song. Like they were using the imagery from Lemonade, but then they were playing Doja Cat song "Paint the Town Red" in the background. I'm like, that's kind of funny. I wonder if Beyonce wouldn't clear the song of Lemonade to be played, because it would have been better. If you're using Lemonade imagery, you should have Lemonade song in the background to match, right? But I wonder if Kim K and Ryan Murphy were blocked from using that song, so they used the Doja Cat song instead, which would also make sense because there's been rumors on the internet for like 10 to 15 years that Beyonce does not like Kim K. And it's just because she doesn't like what Kim K represents, and she doesn't respect how Kim K got famous, and she didn't want to be associated with um, Kim K's brand. This is just speculation, but if they did try to get the Lemonade song cleared for the dream sequence and it got blocked, then it sounds like even to this day, Beyonce still does not want to be associated with Kim K's brand. And, that's fair. So after the dream sequence, Allura and Milan, they go inside and they have the whole confrontation where Allura lets Milan know that, yeah, I know that you've been sleeping with my husband and you're not the only one. And I have the evidence he's been sleeping with other people too. Why did you do it? All that type of stuff. And then Milan says, like, I'm just admire you and I admire your life. And then being with your husband, it gave me a little bit of taste of your life and all that stuff. And Milan, she was very like apologetic and ashamed of herself and apologized and all that. And then Milan agreed that she would help Allura, however she can, as far as like the divorce goes. And Allura was just asking her, a bunch of questions and things like that. Um, and I mean, I think also to Kim K's acting again. Um, Teyana Taylor was the better actor in this scene. Kim K's acting is very weak, especially for someone who uh pulls up on your husband's mistress and you're confronting on them. And not only is she just a mistress, she's also your employee. And there was like a lack of emotion. So yeah, episode 2 ends with Milan admitting to being pregnant with Chase's baby. Okay, moving on to episode 3. The scene opens with Kim Kardashian, Niecy Nash, Naomi Watts, and Glen Close's characters sitting around a table talking about their self care and anti aging routines. And Kim talks about like all of the beauty enhancements that she's got done, talking about like very specific like procedures including some type of vajayjay injections to help make it plump. So this is obviously a play on all the public accusations against Kim K for having too much plastic surgery. So that's a little haha moment there. And then Naomi Watts' character, she talks about getting NAD injections, and I believe NAD is some sort of like vitamin that's supposed to help with anti-aging. I don't know if it's a vitamin or a mineral, but it's supposed to help like I think it's cellular turnover like internally and help with anti-aging. And then Glenn Close's character talks about how, she's just going to accept aging because then you do all these beauty enhancements and all this plastic surgery, and then where does it stop? You're still gonna age, and that she says being around the ladies helps keep her young. And then Niecy Nash's character says for her self care that she hires this massage company to come to her house and massage her and serve her drinks. And then the show cuts to like a clip of Niecy Nash laying on the masseuse table, and then she has like two younger black guys like rubbing all over her body, massaging her, whispering in her ear. And then she says that when they leave, then she goes to her battery operated friend, and then the clip shows her like going to the vibrator drawer, to take care of business for herself. And again, and then she had like the most like male centered self care routine, because even Kim Kardashian's, I guess, routine was like a little bit male centered because she talked about like having a revenge coochie with the injections and stuff to make it plump and have a revenge coochie. But Niecy Nash's self care routine was literally about paying men to touch on her. And then even Naomi Watts' character, she has a whole fiance. She didn't even mention in her routine that, oh, her fiance keeps her feeling young or anything like that. So like Niecy Nash was the only one that directly is talking about having men around as part of her self-care routine. And I'm like, that's a little weird. That's another interesting choice. Especially since her character is the only one that hasn't had any male significant other attached to her, but she's the only one that somehow needs male attention as part of her self-care routine. So much so that she's willing to pay for it is just like an odd choice to me. But anyway, so like in the next scene, they have a new client and she is the wife of a rock star and she's like telling her story about how they first met, everything was great, and they had like a lot of sensual connection, but then they've been married and over the years she's like 40 now and obviously she's aging, and then he's been very verbally abusive to her about her looks, and that he basically forced her to get like all this plastic surgery that she didn't want. So they show like the character, like she has like the overdone lips, the overdone cheeks and all of that stuff. um and so she is the client that they're focused on for this episode, and that's the formula for the show. Each episode is like a new client story, that the ladies help their client win their case, and then the show covers like each of the main characters' personal lives at the same time. So they helped this client win even more money in the divorce settlement than the client even wanted, but the client is still upset and wants revenge. So then she tracks down her husband who's on a date, and then the client goes into the restaurant and pours like some type of acid onto her husband's face, for all his cheating and bad behavior, and his face is like burning, and then you see her getting, kicked out of the restaurant. Also in this episode, Allura Grant, which is Kim K's character, finds out that Chase has also been cheating with a Smex worker, who happens to be a trans woman, and that he bought that this lady of the night, he bought her a condo, and also Chase's divorce lawyer happens to be Carr, who's her nemesis from the old law firm. And so Glen Close's character, who's representing Allura, in this divorce proceeding, goes to confront Carr about this trans woman cheating scandal, and she's hoping to use this as a card to settle the divorce in Allura's favor, but Carr is not backing down. So they're in this conference room and they're having another verbal insult sparring match. And this sparring match was a little bit more funnier and entertaining than their first sparring match. And Carr drops a bomb on Glenn Close's character, basically saying that Chase is not going to allow Allura to use the eggs that they've fertilized and frozen, and that it's marital property, and that he's going to hang it up in divorce, and so she's not going to be able to access the eggs if Chase doesn't allow her to. We also see Chase meet up with the trans woman. Her name is Maria, and Maria lets Chase know that Glenn Close's character reached out to her so that she can testify against Chase to help Allura's case in the divorce. And then Maria says that she's not going to do it, that she's more loyal to Chase. But then in return of her not speaking against Chase in the divorce, then she asks him to be seen, for them to be seen together in public with like cameras and everything, because like he's a famous football player, remember? And she says that, she doesn't want to be in the shadows anymore, and that it would be good media coverage for the trans community, and it would be like empowering to trans women to see another trans woman uh publicly in a relationship with a public figure. And he agrees to it. And then I think they leave together, they leave the bar together for the night. And then you'll see that Kim K and Teyana Taylor's character, they meet up to go get tested because of all of Chase's extramarital activities. They both get tested together, and their tests come back clean. And then we also see Kim K go to Teyana Taylor's house, and Kim K brings like all this like baby furniture and things like that. So they have like a little like heart to heart conversation. And Taylor says that, this baby that she's pregnant with, it's hers. And she's not going to tell Chase that she's pregnant, and that she's going to take care of the baby by herself. Um, so I don't know. Is that a stereotype? You be the judge. And so basically, that gives Kim K the idea that she should go and get her fertilized eggs. So Kim, she forges Chase's signature on the paperwork so she can go get the eggs implanted. Then she goes to the clinic. She talks to the doctor. Then she lies to the doctor and says that, yeah, Chase signed off. He just can't be here today. And the doctor looks at the signature, and it looks like it could be Chase's real signature. So they go ahead with the procedure, and it shows like Kim K laying down on the hospital bed. And then she starts thinking about the good times between her and Chase. And then she gets implanted with the fertilized eggs. And it was a successful procedure. And that's the end of episode 3. And so they dropped the first 3 episodes on November 4th. The next episode will be November 11th. And it seems like after these first 3 episodes, now it's just going to be one episode per week that airs on Hulu Disney. A lot has happened in just the first 3 episodes, and I didn't even go into that much detail about the specifics. So I hope the show can keep the momentum. So, because I do find it entertaining, I feel like the only bad part of the show is Kim K's acting, but everybody else does such a fantastic job. So that's why right now I rate the show like around a 5 or a 6. Like, but it's really not that bad, and I think people should check it out and see for themselves. I also want to get into the guest stars that have been in the first 3 episodes. You'll see some familiar faces. That's what makes the show fun. You see, I think her name is Judith Law or Judith Lee, but you know her from like Law and Order Special Victims Unit. You know her from Who's the Boss, and she's been on so many like Lifetime type shows. So she guest starred in the first episode along with her husband. The guy who played her husband is it James Remar? And you know him from like being Uncle Gamby on Black Lightning. He's also been in a lot of other shows, and he has like a very distinct voice. So, when you hear him, you recognize who that is. Also guest starred on episode 2 was Elizabeth Berkley, and you know her as Jessie Spano from Saved by the Bell, and also her movie Showgirls. So she played an interesting character on episode 2. She played like this one of their billionaire clients, and her husband like kind of like defrauded her out of her companies. And then on episode 3, the client was Jessica Simpson, who got all of the plastic surgeries for her rock star husband that was verbally abusive. So, these are kind of like public figures that a lot of people know and like. So, kind of just seeing their faces pop up on the show added like another kind of like a wow factor to each episode. So hopefully they continue to have more interesting guest stars. And that's all I have for this review. I will be reviewing each episode of All's Fair maybe 1 or 2 days after the episode is released. There's also some other things that I'll be reviewing. So please let me know what you think about the show. or what you think about my take on the show. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to stay up to date on my content. And thanks for listening. Bye.